Hi, my name is Marina Salazar, and I will be doing my presentation on the bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or BSE for short, aka mad cow disease. So, what is mad cow disease? It is a neurological disorder that results from an infection from a prion. An infected prion is a modified form of a normal protein prion that becomes harmful, and it eventually damages the central nervous system. Infected prions form clumps that are heat, radiation, and chemical resistant. So infected prions are pretty difficult to kill and destroy since the molecule makes more of itself by taking the normal prion protein and it refolds into abnormal forms. Infected cattle can pass the infection to humans, causing them to have the human prion disease, the variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, or CJD for short. A little bit of history about BSE. It caused a massive outbreak in the 1980s in the UK, and investigators learned that prions were being transmitted to cattle through their food. And during this time, this was a pretty novel concept. So prion science was just barely emerging from the food that was fed to the cattle. It was believed that meat and bone meals that came from different animal parts, such as sheep, cattle, pigs, and chickens, were infected, and those were the animals or the foods that had been passed down to the cattle. By 1992, over 30,000 cattle had been infected. Some symptoms in cattle. Symptoms include incoordination, nervousness, or violent temperament, which is where the term mad cow comes from. Difficulty rising, abnormal posture, decreased milk production. In humans who have the variant CJD, some of the symptoms include personality changes, memory loss, impaired thinking, blurred vision, or blindness, insomnia, incoordination, difficulty speaking, difficulty swallowing, sudden or jerky movements. And there's not much evidence to say if these symptoms have changed at all. And for cattle, the nervous and violent symptoms are strong attributions to the disease, because like I mentioned earlier, that's the reason how the disease got the name mad cow. Treatment for BSE in cattle, there is no treatment for BSE, and unfortunately no vaccination to prevent it. Also in humans, there's no real treatment for CJD other than relieving pain from the side effects that CJD causes, and other symptoms, and just making the patient as comfortable as possible. Currently, there's no way to diagnose BSE in live cattle. Only after a cow dies, then scientists are able to determine if it had BSE by looking at the brain tissue. From the image that I provided, you can see how the brain tissue is different under a microscope. The white spots in the infected cow brain, I believe, are from the infected prion proteins. So it causes the tissue for it to appear these white spots under the microscope, and that's basically how they're able to determine if it had the infection or not. And then throughout the years, the first case of BSE was found in the UK around the mid 1980s. It's estimated that around 4.5 million cattle were slaughtered in 1996 because of the massive outbreak. In 2000, after it had been thought that BSE had been eradicated, a cow was born with BSE. And in 2001, the first outbreak happened in Japan. And in North America, the first confirmed case of BSE happened in 2003. And in that same year, a bull had tested positive for BSE in Canada. And since the first case had been confirmed, others had been discovered in Washington, Texas, and also in California. And then here's an image of some cattle that had to be slaughtered because they were infected with BSE. And some other insights to this disease is that it left a lot of generations pretty scared for years, and a lot of countries, and like including Japan, they banned imports from the UK for almost about 4 years, and then eventually the UK had to ban human consumption of certain organs because of how bad the outbreak had left. But yeah, and these are my cited sources. So thank you.